And we're up and running. Cool. All right. This is the GOA pod. And I'm not trying to do like a crazy introduction. I can't do this. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta change this. Um, Arts. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. I I don't need these headphones. I thought it was gonna be kind of a cool thing to do. Very podcasty. Have those in and hear my own voice, but I can't stand that. The way it sounds, like I feel like I'm talking slower, so I don't like that. But as I was saying, this is the GOA pod, and pretty simple. It's in the thing, or you can call it the GOA. This is a podcast, and I have no idea how to do this stuff. So, like going into it, I kind of made like an overview, but I mean, I don't have extensive knowledge on this stuff, you know. And when people are going to tell you, like you'll hear podcasts and like, oh well, you do this, you do this. I don't know, but I feel like it's one of those things like it shouldn't be a job, you know. Like some people maybe it is. It's part of their, uh, people make money off of it, stuff like that. But for me, like I feel like this would be fun to at least try, right? And maybe I make 2 episodes and it flunks, and then shit. But at least I try. So that's what we're trying to do here. And like I said, I don't really have an idea of what I'm doing, but the more I, learn and try to understand and edit and talk, because I suck at talking. I've tried making YouTube videos and stuff like that, and like hearing it back, I've made thousands of drafts and I don't post them because it just sounds like, nails on a chalkboard to me. And I automatically think it's nails on chalkboard for someone else, but maybe like even more like gunshots to shut me up, you know? Um, and I do that too. I say, but like I want to speak better, but at the same time, I don't want to sound like a professor at Harvard either. So, we'll try to find that happy medium there. Um, Really, why I want to make this podcast, other than like having fun, is I think it's a new wave of info. And sorry, like I'm reading an overview thing because there was certain things I wanted, like kind of structure it. 'Cause I didn't want to walk into it not knowing stuff, and then just sound like a complete tool, which I'll probably sound like that all the time. But at least this way, I'm a little prepared. So cut me some slack, all right? Now, like I was saying, for podcasts, it seems like they're really like a new. I wrote it down as like a new wave of info, and in a sense, that's true. A lot more people listen to them, like the JRE. Well, Pat McAfee's. I mean, that's really a podcast too, right? And that's where you're getting most of your, at least, media from. But that's where people get their news. That's where they find out stuff. So you learn a lot, and it's not like normal CNN news, Fox, whatever. Not throwing jabs, but like podcasts, like that's the new way, right? Like when you're talking to people, they're like, I heard on this podcast like about sports, then you learn stuff. You learn finance, you learn just like that what whales were originally land animals and they evolved into whales. Like, what? And then sharks are living in trees. Like, I didn't know that. I started listening to Joe Rogan and I hear that. Now I'm not trying to suck off podcasts, but like that's a new wave, right? And to like deny it would be a little weird, I think. Like it's definitely a step moving forward, right? And like originally, like the old heads are gonna be like, "What podcast? What? You're listening to that monkey shit?" And it's like, no, like there's actually like relatable people talking, and like people who don't want to go on the news because that's saturated or whatever, like or they can't, freedom of speech, things like that. They go on a podcast, and you're able to say stuff, right? Now I know there's restrictions and laws, and YouTube bites you in the ass if you just show a tiny little second of one of their videos, right? Yeah, whatever. Well, that's just gonna be news. That's just whatever you work with. There's gonna be some shit going on. But for the overall idea, I think podcasts are, like exponentially just growing, and it just keeps going, and people listening, and you can listen to whatever you want. It could be about listening only to why your poop's brown, It could only be, why do the Patriots suck and they're cheaters? Could be anything like that. So yeah. Um, sorry, I'm doing this again. I'm like doing dead air and I don't like it. Another part of podcasts, which goes into it being a new wave of things, is that most of the time they're unfiltered, right? And that's a really cool part about it is people say whatever the fuck they want. They just bullshit, swear, cuss, say weird stuff, and you can have fun with it, right? It's not like this serious, like, yeah, you can learn stuff from it, but you're not, it's not like you're sitting at school, like, sit up straight, do this, listen, take a test after, like, like, you listen to a podcast because you're genuinely interested. So, like, if you want to learn, or, like, someone has a guest on and they're an astronaut, and you want to learn about astronauts, that's pretty cool, right? And so forth. Like you have people on, you have guests, like professionals, and they get to ask them questions. And then it's like a mix of an interview and a show. Like when it comes down to it, because it's the own person's thing. So, yeah. Now, next part we're going into is why the name of this podcast is the name of it. I said that weird. Sorry. Why is this called the GOA? Well, really, if you want to like stem it from an original idea, it comes from me like doing this kind of like persona thing. And my friends, it's kind of an inside joke at the same time. So, like I said, I've with YouTube, I've made videos and stuff like that. Um, I made this persona called the GOA, and I mean like my initials, Gabe, and then A. I mean that could really be whatever, like just any A acronym. But what it originally stood for when I was calling myself like I'd like do this persona thing. Like if you think of Dwayne Johnson's like The Rock, right? Or something else I might be forgetting about. That's a like popular one. Like this persona was the GOA, and that meant for like greatest of all. And like I had this spiel about like you don't say go, you don't include the T because time's not relevant, right? Real puke worthy stuff that like it was cringy AF, right? And even saying that cringy AF was cringy as fuck. But overall, the point was I had this like persona thing, and I did a few videos like acting as the GOA, right? Yeah, I know, hard as shit, right? I'm the toughest man ever, but like I did that, and yeah, of course my friends saw that, and like they'd poke fun at it. So it was an inside joke. Like they'd be like we're in a party just chatting, and like I don't know, it could be like football, and I say like my team is like good, and they'll be like, oh, it's the GOA, but like time's not irrelevant. Like time's irrelevant, right? And they like mock my thing, and like it's funny because it's like the whole thing is stupid, right? But I thought it was like an idea, and I went with it. And people might think it sucks, but whatever. And like me and my friends like find it funny as shit, and I laugh at it every time too. Like I don't feel embarrassed about it. Like it was just a thing. So like using that as like the name of it, like that kind of felt natural to me. Just like if the whole idea of this podcast is to be fun and kind of shoot shit and everything, like just name it that. And like yeah, the name could change or whatever, like whatever. But like the GOA, like why not go with that? And like it doesn't need to be some rocket science to like make the name like oh this needs to define, it needs purpose, it needs it needs to lay out like what this podcast is about. Like no, like that's just the name of it. Like there's reasoning behind it, but it's silly, silly nonsense. So that's the name of it, GOA. And like you like that story probably stupid as shit. And if you watch the video, shoot me because yeah, it's bad. But like that builds character at the same time. If you want to get like Aristotle about it, like I learned from that, and like that was stupid as shit. But you can learn from that. Um, now as far as that's the title of the GOA of our podcast. Now you're thinking like, what are you going to talk about? Um, I don't know. And like I jotted some down stuff. I just started really bad. Holy shit. And I jotted some stuff down. So like for podcasts usually, um what like people want to talk about is like stuff that's interesting, right? Like you're gonna bring on a guest and they're talking about like UFOs or something. and like it's gonna be you're talking to someone who like used to work and saw a UFO or whatever. But like if you like that, you're interested, right? If someone wrote a book like Harry Potter and like that you want that author to come on and talk about it, you're a fan, right? And you're interested in that genre or that, the book series. So you want to talk about it and you want to learn stuff that you didn't know. And like, so that could be, that's obviously like the point of this podcast, at least, is things I find interesting. So I could talk about sports, I could talk about global warming. I'm not interested in that. That was just an example, a shitty one. But I could talk about um, comedy, what movies I like, things like that. It could be whatever, but of course, it's going to be things I'm interested about, and like it could lean towards like I like being healthy and like going to the gym and stuff. So I could talk about that too. Not saying like this is going to be like a health podcast and like you need to go to the gym every day and like I'll David Goggins the shit out of you. Like no, but there's going to be like things I like, and I'll talk about them, and maybe that'll shape the role of like the categories of what the podcasts are. Like if you want to bring one up, you're like, oh, what do they mostly talk about? And it's like, oh, comedy, sports, politics. Politics, by the way, no. I would like to not talk about that, but yeah, skip that. Um, but and like especially like stories too, right? Like when you bring guests on and you're talking about stuff, like there's always stories, especially if you have your friends on and you're just talking nonsense. There's always stories, and it's gonna be funny, like stuff you can learn from, a bunch of stuff. So hopefully I can bring that to the table too in doing this as well. And sorry, I keep reading notes. I'm don't know how to do this. It's not like I have someone with me at the moment, so I can like just talk directly at them. And like I'm looking at the camera too much probably, and you guys are thinking I'm a weirdo. Like if I'm able to get video up and you're watching, like a video form of this, but I'm learning. Okay, don't sue me. And like if we get people on, like it's gonna be back and forth conversation. It'll be a lot smoother. Um, a lot of thing about podcasts too is like sharing wisdom. I think is when you, especially like going like into stories, like a lot of like stories have reasoning, whether it's funny, like a sad story, but or there's like a lesson from it. Like you can share wisdom, and like if you say your story and you give a rebuttal or like you agree with it, but you give your 2 cents either way, right? So you're getting like feedback on it, and you can learn from that all the time. And like just sitting or like even just listening to a podcast and you just hear something like, you know, fight today's battle, something like that. That's just thrown out there. Like that could work. Like you could do that. And um, sorry, I'm losing train of thought again. I apologize. So shared wisdom I was talking about, right? Yeah. Sorry. God, I'm being an idiot. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like I'm gonna sound stupid and just mental, but bear with me, please. And another thing about podcasts is ideas, right? So, like, especially with me, and when I hear a podcast and I have like you hear there's like someone on there, and maybe their like profession is to be a professional. Sorry, I said that too much. Maybe their job is to be a motivator, right? And you're just hearing them talk. They have stories of how they overcome discipline, stuff like that. That's gonna give you like the motivation, but also like ideas to do your own stuff. Maybe that'll give you motivation to do your own podcast. Maybe it'll push you to go for a promotion that you like you've just been stuck in the mud of like trying to reach for, or, quit your job even and just go for something you want to do, right? So like hearing other people sharing their wisdom, stories, whatever, that's going to help you give ideas and like go on about of what you want to do. Take that leap of what you're like too scared to do, things like that. Um, and so like those would be like that's an overview of topics I think this podcast could bring. If I buckle down, set to it, bring people on, it gets more listeners, bigger stuff like that. But really, like I said at the beginning, like this could lead to anywhere. Maybe this could lead to me being a professional debater, which I would hopefully not want to do. I would right now myself would say drink bleach and don't do that, and just leave it at that. But you don't know where the road's gonna lead you, right? You can't see the future, so it could lead towards just success of something, I don't know what it would be though. So in the meantime, enjoy it, learn from it, experience, and go from there, right? And now, outside of podcast, sorry, like I'm this is new for me, like speaking, especially not to other people. Like writing's a little bit different, but like now my like point is now it's like the reasoning behind the podcast, right? And you might not want to hear this, but I'm gonna explain it anyway to just kind of get used to speaking this way. An introduction. What's my reasoning for this podcast, right? I for like the last couple of years, I've been looking for a purpose, right? And like I'm getting older. Like right now, I'm 22. Last year, like I moved out from my parents. Set on my own, have roommates, bills, stuff like this. So in that like time span, I've been learning, right? And even before that, I like the idea, like the day we live in now, there's YouTubers, influencers, stuff like that. And it's like a craw in my hat. I think I said that wrong, sorry. But like, there's just like something picking at me, like in my brain, or like in my soul that like there's a bigger purpose for me other than like getting a normal job or, like getting a degree or something like that. And I think it kind of happened like halfway through my what was it? Yeah, junior year of college, and I was going to Oakland, and like I was going to be an accountant, right? I was going for that degree, and in that time, so sorry, this is gonna be leading towards like a story for mine, and but like this is still my purpose overall, like or like my reasoning behind this podcast, but it's just gonna lead into a story for you for reference. So this might be long, but anyway, I was in school, learning to be an accountant, taking classes, yada yada yada. I was working full time, like 40-hour weeks, but full time student as well, taking 5 classes per semester, um, full full schedule working wise, and my off time I'd be going, I'd want to work out, like take care of myself, things like that. And I guess as over time people get worn out, right? Like you hear that all the time, and yeah, I'd say I got worn out, right? And like when people talk to me, like a big like not like an excuse, but like me, like after my first semester in junior year, like I stopped going. Right, I made that decision. I like broke down, got emotional. It's like it just wasn't my like. I felt like my heart wasn't in it. Right, so I was taking these classes, and you're learning about accounting and stuff. Right, you're learning stuff, yada yada yada, and like it just started getting to me like, college is expensive, right? And that's a big argument in today's days. College is too expensive, right? And there's an argument that is like, is degrees even worth it, right? Now, there's opinions on that, and I have my own opinion. But like at the time for me, he's doing these like projects and stuff like that. Like my goal was I was gonna get a major in accounting and then a minor in finance. Like I was lined up for that. I was taking extra classes in the summer, stuff like that, right? And yeah, like I had loans and stuff, so that was expensive, and that was kind of just like set thing, right? But as time was getting on, I was like with these classes, it just felt like tedious, right? It didn't feel like my heart was in it. It just felt like I was going to school, like because I need to get these classes to get this degree, right? And like doing group projects with other people, of course, in the same field and everything. They're talking about, oh well, I got this internship, blah blah blah, and I like, I'd ask them like, how do you feel about the internship? They're like, oh, it's whatever. Like doing simple stuff like this. They have me do file spreadsheets, whatever. Like I don't remember what they talked about exactly, but like accounting, like my thing was accounting, so it would pertain towards that, right? But then like that, it didn't sound the best, right? But like that's a step in the door. It's what they're leading you up to, so you get your degree, and then you get an internship, and hopefully they get that job there, and you just keep building, right? That's how degrees and internships go. But like with these, like it didn't sound fun, right? So I guess that was like kind of my first flag. Was I like internship? Okay, that doesn't sound that fun, right? Like sounds pretty simple. And then like doing even more group projects and stuff. You hear people talk and they're like oh, I'm going for my masters. And like hearing the talk of like, people saying like, oh well, masters, like you need more and stuff to do. Sorry. Saw a person walk outside. It's weird. But you need like a master's to like actually like get a higher paying job and stuff. Like just a regular 4-year degree wasn't going to be good enough. And so that, I mean, yeah, did I let that get to me? Probably a little bit. Yeah, like I don't want to do 2 more years of school. Like I already have this plan of just doing 4 years, get my degree, figure out an internship, then be set, right? So that kind of, I guess, put some doubt in my head. And at the time, I was looking to get into an internship, right? So I was looking. I had one, my like a guy at school had set me up with like a interview, or kind of got my foot in the door. So I applied. He kind of gave me a shout out. So I got the interview, right? And like I did, it was online because this was all like during COVID, when it was kind of waning out and stuff. So I'm doing the interviews, or they're interviewing me, right? And it's about like school, what I'm doing right now, things like that. And they start asking like, have you learned about like, um, let's for example, I don't remember exactly, but like learn about analytics and stuff like this. And I was like, no, not really. Like the classes I'm taking so far, like they're just getting into that kind of stuff, so I don't have an idea. And like they kept asking like those questions of like, well, like, have you learned about this yet? And most of the answers were no, right? And like for interview part, I said I think it was going decent, right? I was answering the question to the best of my abilities, but I wasn't. I couldn't say yes because like I didn't learn that stuff, right? Now I could have lied my ass off and said yeah, and then you get the job, and then you know work your way through it, right? Because obviously you're gonna learn in an internship, but like after the interviews, it dawned on me that I haven't learned this stuff yet, right? And like I'm so almost 2.5 years into college now, and like it doesn't feel like I'm learning what I need to yet, right? Like not at the right pace. So that's when it really like dawned on me that maybe this isn't my route, right? Like, sorry, I'm trying to break it. Like I'm trying to think of it and explain. Like, so over halfway through, getting my degree, or the 4-year degree, and to get this internship, I don't meet the qualifications, right? Because I haven't and I'm doing school and stuff, but like I haven't learned what I need to yet to like excel in that internship, right? So, and it's like I paid all this money. Why? And like, yeah, money was tight, stuff like, like people have their circumstances, right? You're like, just college is expensive, dude. Like, why? Like, why, man? I get higher education, teachers, tenure, pay for books, campus, stuff like that, right? But and I know there's loans and everything like that, but it's just like, why does it still have to overall be so expensive, right? And but my main thing was like, I'm not learning like what I need, right? In order to like get this job. Like that's I like this seems stupid. That's why I thought like this is dumb. Like I'm paying this money, I'm taking these classes, and it's doesn't even have me prepared yet to get a job, or like the job I'm looking for, right? And yeah, I didn't get the job. I didn't get the internship, right? They went another route. But like I never got an answer that I didn't get accepted or anything. And like I think I got an email like a month later. They're like, "Oh, well the accounting internship isn't open, but like there's a finance internship open." And I was like, "Okay." Like I kind of like, "Okay." So it was kind of weird because they never responded to my first like application to the internship for accounting, right? But then they say, "Oh, there's this opening for finance, and you could interview for like our financial department." And I set that up, but then like just over like the span of like it was like in 2 days, and over that span, this is like in December, I think of 20. Is it either in 21 or 20? No, it was 22. Winter of 22, like December, like before like the war break started and everything. And like I just got done with midterms and stuff like that, and I was thinking, I was like, I, I don't think like this just doesn't make sense to me, right? Like for like I'm hearing all this talk about like how like like getting a master's is like your best shot at like getting a job right away and setting yourself up. So that means more school, right? Which means you got to pay more money. And then but like this the school I'm learning now, almost 3 years in, like I'm not learning what I need to like in order to get an internship, right? And like I don't know, maybe it was like I got psyched out by the interviews. It was just like one bad experience, but like I just didn't feel like it was right for me. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to be an accountant, right? And So my whole idea was get this job, be set, and then I could take care of like my family, take care of me, things like that. Like I was like I had this responsibility on my shoulders of just doing that. And like at that point, it just didn't feel like I was happy. It felt like I was going through the motions of just nonstop working, school, repeat. But like I wasn't enjoying doing it, and I didn't see like I knew there was like like an overall goal, right? Like there was an end game, but it just didn't entertain me at all. Like it didn't interest me. So and then like that's so like the week before like I finished like my exams and stuff. It's like I broke down on my mom and I was like I don't want to do this. I want to take a break. At that point, it was a break for me, right? Like I take a semester off, I evaluate things, like recover, save money, recover from debt, things like that. I was like go from there. But like I don't want to do this. Like this doesn't feel like I should be doing this. Like the internship felt weird, not learning what I supposed to. Everything just felt off. So, and like shout out to my mom because she like totally respected like what I was feeling, and I haven't regretted it to this day. Like going on 2 years now. Like I mean, I still have those credits and stuff, so I could always go back. Maybe it's to be in accounting. You never know. That'll help out anyway, in just financials in life. But right now, I just don't see a point in doing that. Right, and like I didn't, my heart wasn't in it, obviously, and I just didn't believe in it. So I let go. And like for a quick second, it was like, oh well, maybe I'm giving up. Like maybe I'm being a failure. But like that, it was like a quick second of doubt in myself, and then just like that, like I didn't feel like that. I felt like it was just a weight lifted as soon as like I said the words to my mom. I was I don't want to go to school anymore, and just like that, like I felt better. Right now, this wasn't. Now that was a story of me like figuring out like there's a bigger. I'm I'm sorry. I was getting off track. Like I had this story of well, like I had this story of me going out of school and stuff like that. But like the point is, I've been like ever since that time, I've been looking for a bigger purpose in life, right? And like setting out my own like bills, just learning about myself and just learning in general. Like I'm still looking for a purpose of like what I want to do in life, and that doesn't like specifically mean like what I want as a job, what house I want to live, wife, kids, things like that. Like it's overall like what do I want to experience in my life? And what do I want to have set as like my priorities in life in general? Like happiness is obviously one, of course, right? And being financially sound, like all the cliches and basic stuff that comes with growing up as an adult, right? But there's like a bigger purpose that I'm looking for. And I like really think that's not being like the so-called influencer or like an actor, like a celebrity, but like being known, if that makes sense. Like I don't like you want to be that, but you don't want the classification at the same time. And I like you can't have both worlds, obviously. And that relates to a lot of things, but like I don't want to be an influencer of just being like, oh, try this perfume, da 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 da. Oh, this food's really good. Buy my product. I don't want to do like specifically that, obviously. Because like you look at that and you're like, that's stupid. Like all they're like doing is like just selling product for money, and like they're selling their soul, blah 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 blah, money, devil worshippers, actors, Hollywood, right? The whole 9 yards of just cliches and everything. Like I don't want that, but I do feel like my purpose is like sharing like ideas, like being on social media, like expressing feelings, relating, just spreading happiness, like fun, like making jokes, stuff like that. Just overall, like experiencing life, but like spreading that experience for everyone to enjoy. Like talk, just interactions with people every day is just talking to them. Like say like you're walking down the street and you meet someone and real, it's basic. How are you doing? Good. How are you? But like something could happen where you just talk to them, sit down in 5 minutes, and it's just like like a genuine conversation about something, and like that like makes your day. It can make their world, like both sides. You could just be talking about cars, right? Like say you meet this person, they see your car and they like it and they're like, nice car, man. Like, oh, I'm trying to save up for this. that could lead into a whole thing of just like talking about cars, like what you want to do in life, what you're trying to save money up for, like what's going on. Maybe you need to vent to someone and they're there to listen and they give you feedback. Like that makes people's days, right? And I've had that. Like, have you talked to someone and it's like that was a great conversation. Like like I needed that today. Like I'm sure that's happened to everyone. And if you're listening and you have one too, right? Um, but my point is like there's interactions like that every day, and you'll have those interactions with people too. And it's like in the world we are today, the way technology is, you're able to like talk to someone on the other side of the planet, in different time zones, stuff like that. Like the experience I'm talking about, like why can't you have that like normal? And it's like, yeah, obviously, like if you're a celebrity, you're just meeting people nonstop, and you're gonna meet some cool people. You're gonna meet some crazy people. You're gonna meet like weirdos all the time, right? But overall, like when people talk about it, like they're gonna have a good experience of their life, and then like I wouldn't trade it for anything because like the experiences you get of just like being famous, go walking around doing what you love, knowing people, like that's huge. Like that can't be bought. And like people like if you ask like if you ask a knight like in the medieval times, well, like what was their job? Like I know this is like a far fetched like example, but pretend you're a knight like in the whatever years they were. I don't remember 1200s, whatever. Like what was their job? Like to fucking duel every day? Like what is that? Like you're not going out and experiencing and like talking to people, like things like that. And like as people we've evolved, we're in this day and time, like technology, everything like that. Like we have the blessing to do that. So why not, reach for that? And like I feel like that's my purpose is to try and reach that level of getting there. And I don't know what it is. Like that's something I struggle with every day is like I want to get to this level but I don't know how, right? You watch YouTube videos of how to become like example, how to become influencer, like how to make your YouTube's videos popular. Everyone's done that. And you look up these videos and you take notes and everything. And it's like one thing's like studying and like things, but the most important thing is doing it, right? And like in my short time of doing this, like I make videos and stuff and you see success, like you have more followers, like you have 50, you have 100. And it's like, that feels good, right? And yeah, there's that selfish like feeling of, I'm just doing this for the follows or whatever. But that's not what I'm talking about, right? Like I want to have a genuine impact, like a genuine purpose of like having a podcast and just like spreading information. Like I want there to be purpose behind that, right? Like I want there to be, reason, good moral reason to do that. And for people to listen, I don't want them to listen just to, get off on just being a hater or just like watching it and being like, that's stupid. That guy's dumb. No, I don't want that. I want to share, if I can break it down to like a simpler word, share an experience, right? And with podcasts and things like that, like there's a big outreach. Social media, there's a big outreach, and that's like obviously an easier way to do it instead of like going on a boat 500 miles and starting a new continent, whatever. I'm speaking nonsense, but I hope you get what I'm saying, right? So that's like my reasoning is trying to find this purpose of spreading just knowledge, experience, just having fun, right? And I feel like I can be an outgoing person to do that. Like as a kid, I used to be really shy, not talk to people, in school, just kind of just do what I, do school things. And I had friends and I'd open up to them, of course, like, cause you know them as you get to know people. And that's what I still do, I think, is like, I'll be quiet at first, kind of observe and, not show my hand right away. But as I get more comfortable, I'll start showing like my funny side or, just opening up, right? And then people see that. And it's like, obviously, when you're in front of a screen, I'd say it's harder, but easier at the same time. I don't obviously have much experience because I'm not like a famous person or anything. But when you're in front of screen, there's, there's less, like, there's less personal behind it, or there's less interaction. If you say like if you're face to face in front of a person, it feels different, obviously, right? Than instead of in front of a screen. Like you feel like some people feel invincible behind a screen, like they can do whatever they want, say whatever they want, and there's no repercussions, right? we know with the internet that's not really true. Like, you get in trouble, like, it's been written in law, like, if you do offense, you can get arrested, stuff like that, right? But there's still that feeling of if you're behind a screen, you're sending a tweet, like, you feel like you have power, right? And, like, there's no repercussions. You could call someone a piece of shit, and all they're gonna say back is, "No, you are, fuck you," and blah, 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 right? Just like Twitter fingers and just say nonsense. So there's that part of social media. But the other part is, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I apologize. One side is like it's not so personal, right? But on the other hand, you because it's not so personal, some people like don't open up at the same time. So like on one hand, you feel invincible, you can say whatever you want. On the other hand, it doesn't because it doesn't feel personal. Like people aren't gonna like step out and be their normal self, right? That's like when people get in front of a crowd of 1,000 people, they don't know what to say. Like if you make jokes in front of your friends all the time, like that's normal, and like they know who you are. But if you're going in front of random people you've never met, the spotlight's on you, everyone's focused on you. Like there's like you're scared, there's like intimidation, so you're not gonna be yourself. And I'm sure like people like streamers get that too. Like if you check like in the top right there and you see 60,000 people watching, you're like, holy shit. Like there's people watching on me. Like what if I fuck up? And what if I say something? And they're gonna shit on me. So there's that too. So like there's an invincible side and there's a um I guess you could say kind of a shy side at the end where you're not being yourself. Either way, you might not be being yourself, right? So you gotta find that happy middle ground. And that's a job for me, obviously for anyone who is going through that, being an influencer, doing a podcast, whatever. That's their job to find a happy medium of figuring out what their niche is and getting across like who they are, like deep down, not some like facade of buy my product or fuck you, you piece of shit. I'm trying to act hard, so don't talk to me. Like there's different things. So the overall idea is to figure out who you are and like stay true to yourself and like transfer that into the social media of a podcast, streaming, things like that, right? And so that's a big thing for me is I don't know, right? And like writing stuff down, yeah, that's one thing because that's your thoughts. But like once you put it out there, like you perform the action, it just seems weird. And like watching it back, you're gonna think, oh, this is weird. Like I sound dumb, things like that. And I go through that like every time I make a video or like every time I try something. It's like, is that like, I sound stupid? Like that doesn't sound like me. So like I'm battling every day of, is this genuinely me or am I putting on some like show of someone who I want to be or I think like sounds cool, so like I'll get more followers because like they'll think this person's cool. But like people who do that, like if you find success, like bravo to you. Like if you're making money off of it, good, good shit. But like for me, like that doesn't it doesn't feel right. Like I don't want to sit there and like I like the gym, but I'm not some total jockhead and like go to the gym or like you're a fat piece of shit and you'll die. Like I'm not like that. But like if I put on that facade and like people enjoy it and they're like, "Yay. Yay. Yay. He's calling people stupid." Like that's not going to feel good, right? Overall. And like if you get interactions with people who watch you and stuff like that, like it's like when things are brought to light for you, it's very humbling and it's going to make you think of like how you're actually doing stuff, right? Like obviously in my own mind, I think of like the way I go do things, the way I think of stuff. Like it seems normal, right? Cuz you're the one going through what you're through. So like say you have a sorry, I'm just not giving examples, so this might sound weird. Say for me like if I'm having a bad day at work, for example, right? Or like yeah, say I'm having a bad day at work and like there's this rude customer, right? And they like, they're just rude. And after the experience, you're like, oh, man, like that sucked. Like that person just like wasn't fun to experience, like just sucked overall. Now you could choose to let that ruin ruin your day. Like usually typically with me, if someone like like something happens with customer and they like walk away and it's a bad thing. I was like what the hell? And then I usually glance over it. But and if I like try to explain like how I react to that person, like with a coworker who might like freak out that someone was, rude to them or something, I might sound insensitive because I just blow it over and I'm like, whatever. It is what it is. Like, I won't let it ruin my day. Like, someone else is gonna like, and someone tells you like you're being insensitive, like you're not like you just don't care. Like me hearing that sometimes, it's like I need to like sit down and think like, well, okay, maybe I am a little inconsiderate sometimes, but other times I just like I think of it as like I just don't let bullshit affect me. So with that being said, it's a lot on I'm trying to think of the word, sorry, is point of view. That's what I'm trying to think of. So from some like when you hear someone else's point of view, especially when it involves what you're doing and what's going on, like it makes you think different for sure. So, like, in going and finding like my purpose on social media and stuff like that, that's an important thing to think of. Because if you're sitting there being fake and everything, and then like someone calls you out for it, then it's gonna smack you in the face, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, dude, like I am a piece of shit. Holy fuck, no one told me." But like now you know. So that's I kind of dragged away from it, but that's my point of that, right? And hopefully that's another part of this reasoning for my podcast. Sorry, I keep flipping back and forth and get like going through stories and stuff like that. But I mean, that's really what podcasts do, right? Like as people get better, as I've like watched and seen, is like you have the set thing, but like things just drone on and carry on. But that's why I got these like overviews to kind of like reel me back in. But it's good because it's not like a lot of dead air, and I'm not just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, picking my butt cheeks or anything like that. Now to go back, um, for this podcast, like I've said a couple times, I think, like I want the main things in my life to be fun, right? If this becomes a job for me and I could just talk shit and just talk about like whatever, like that would be amazing, right? That'd be awesome. And it might lead to that. Or maybe this fucking flops and 2 years into it, nothing happens. And it's like, oh, God, man, like this, I'm not, I'm trying different things. I'm not seeing, you know, improving, nothing like that. Shit, man. Then like that sucks, yeah. But either way, the two outcomes I just explained, either way it happened, right? Now you might be thinking like, what the like, Gabe, that doesn't make sense, right? Like I'm trying to break it down as like the two explanations I just gave is my like thought process is regardless if an outcome happens, whether good or bad, oh like the outcome is still happening, right? So it's like just be great. Like my mind says, like be grateful that like an experience, like an outcome, actually happened, right? Because if you're sitting there doubting yourself and procrastinating and not making videos, not doing what you want to do, that like that thing is never gonna happen, right? So you're gonna sit there and wallow in self pity and oh I should have done this, I should have done that. Well, you didn't do it, so like the only thing you could be mad at is yourself because you never did it. If you do something, like if I post this podcast right now, like it's either gonna have listeners or not a single listener, right? And yeah, that'll suck if it doesn't have any listeners, and it'll be awesome if I do have listeners. But regardless, there'll be a part of my brain that's happy, just a matter of the fact that I made this, took the time to do it, and I put it out and posted it, right? And that's what I like to tell myself is like the most important part is like actually doing something, like actually experience something and actually setting forth motion, you know? So like I know that sounded weird at first, but explaining it hopefully that kind of breaks it down is like just the experience itself is awesome for me. I like that. Instead of like sitting there twiddling my thumbs thinking, man, I should have done this. Like should have and like doing is obviously two different things. And like when you do something, if something happens, an occurrence, there's gonna be something good or bad, genuinely or generally. And yeah, bad will suck big time. It'll suck big, poopy, stinky. But like good will feel awesome time, awesome sauce. And you'll be like, dude, let's go, LFG. But either way, like there's gonna be an outcome. And that's just awesome itself because you actually did it. So that's kind of my idea on that. Um, let's see. All right, this next kind of topic. Um, I damn it, I'm kind of like being hypocritical and explaining it because I'm like telling you guys I have an overview and like I'm hitting like topics and stuff. But like this part, like I'm talking about, is like hopefully I don't do this with my show, is or my podcast, whatever, is like doing cliches for podcasts, right? And like you hear the word cliche and everything's just cringy and it sounds stupid. Well, like hopefully I don't hit these points, right? Now for podcasts, what do you usually think of? You think of ads, right? That's how you make money off of them, really. Obviously, podcasts are gonna have ads. They like need to make money, right? Or just overall, like they need to make money, like, or maybe they're generally interested and want to sell something. Maybe this gets to a level where I can do ads. Like ads are everywhere, but like it makes sense, right? You're gonna pay for them. That's gonna help you make money, and hopefully it's stuff that like you're interested in, right? But like I don't like that's not the reason I want to do this, and I don't want to, you know, like simply be like a merchant of like buy this, do this code and get 10% off this, right? Like that's obviously gonna come, but like you don't want that to be like main point of like someone not liking your podcast is like, well, they have too many ads. Like maybe they do, but maybe they're promoting like I know Joe Rogan doesn't. Like he promotes like actually good shit, right? Like AG1, like that promotion. Like I take that, and I'm not like I don't have an ad, so like don't don't cancel me or like I hope I don't get in trouble for this. But like I have that, like I did that, like it interested me, right? Like it helps me take my vitamins daily. Like it's easier. It's just a drink, like in a pouch. But like, certain like some people have like ads that like they're because like or a company that they genuinely like. Like if they like beer, they're gonna have a beer ad because they like that beer, right? And maybe other people like that beer. But like my whole issue is like if people are just like selling that and like that's their main purpose of like doing the podcast or whatever is like, oh, I want to just push these ads and make money off of it. Like that'd be cool if I get in like an ad, a sponsor. Like that's fucking awesome sauce. But is that my overall goal? Not really. No. Like that'd be cool to get it and make some money, but at the same time, no. Like that's not the reason I'm doing this. And if that does come, what's really like what kind of cancels that out is like just having ads. A bunch of ads and stuff like that. Is like if when people like take their time to do it, kind of like make a real thing out of it. Like I know, like some podcasts will like it's like still in it, but it'll like kind of do like a quick cut. Like they take edit, or they take effort in editing, making it look like it's within the podcast actually. When but like Mr. Beast, for example, like his are like actually in video, which is pretty cool, right? That's a cool concept doing that. Or like they do a quick segue off of the video, and they're like, real quick, guys, we're gonna go over this, and that seems a little more corny and like not genuine, but it's still kind of creative of them, like doing their thing, being like interactive in the ad and then going back to it. So I respect that either way. But just like sitting there like droning on when people are like, you should get this product. Like they obviously sound fake as shit, right? That's not their genuine voice talking. Like they're literally being a salesman trying to sell you on something. Like, yeah, if you believe in something, cool, awesome. But like don't be a cornball and just, push that. That's annoying, right? That's really annoying. So that's kind of like the like top cliche I kind of find puke worthy for me. Another one is this is another one is like intros. Like intros, like dude, it's not like a comedy show. Like it's not a sitcom. Like do you really need an intro? Like, hey guys, well, or like YouTube's a little different, right? Because like you have videos people watch and like welcome to game theory, right? Stuff like that. But like as a podcast, like dude, really? Like I just want to watch. Like, I just want to hear conversation. Like I don't need this intro of welcome to the GOA podcast. Blah 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 blah. Like no, dude, that's really annoying. I don't like that. Like you could have a quick thing, like a quick music thing that like tunes you in. Like that's fine, right? Because like you're starting it up. That lets you know you're starting this thing, right? And then you just go like naturally into talking. Things like that. That's fine. Like a regular intro like that, but a whole like thing if they're like trying to introduce someone or like just intro to their show and it's like coordination things like that, like you just tell when it's like it's too much, right? Like just play some music and just hop into talking, like just do that. That's fine, right? Like I don't need this whole like intro thing, like get me into it. things like that. Like I'm listening to the podcast, I feel like just because like I want like a cool person's on there, so I want to listen to them. I'm not listening because of the intro, and you're like, "Oh, yay, intro." No, dude, I'm not doing that. Um, Another cliche I think is it's like you hear a lot is like when there's beef on podcasts or whatever, or in interviewers, or like it goes wrong. It's like, well, this is my show. I get to ask whatever I want. Dude, don't don't be dictator. Like, yeah, this is obviously your show. Like your name's in it, so that's pretty obvious. And like most of the time, if a guest is on your like you see if a guest is on their podcast, they're usually respectful, right? Like they're thankful for the opportunity, especially if it's like a bigger one, things like that. But like if there's like a disagreement or something, you'll see like the host be like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like I like this is my podcast. If you don't like it, leave, dude. Do you think you're the coolest man ever doing that? Like, what are you gaining from that? Like, if you don't like what the person's talking about, like you can disagree, but like the fact of like storming off the set, like being angry, whatever, or just being like egotistical about your own show, it's like, dude, why? Like, if there's really an issue, just like cut it out. Like, there's no because you're gonna like they're gonna clickbait. Clickbait's a huge word now, and it pisses me off. But like people are gonna clickbait, be like, "This is stupid." Like I'm walking off your dickhead. Get off my podcast. Then like it's like that's just stupid. Like that's not a genuine thing either, and that's annoying. That's really annoying for me. Um, Another kind of cliche, which like I said, I'm doing it right now. But I mean, as I get forth more, I'll kind of it'll be easier. Is like when people like schedule, not so much like schedule, but I probably say like segments. And it's like that's like kind of the thing of like an intro that annoys me is like, oh well, now it's word of the day, like a segment like that, like or like the news. Like I don't want that. Like that's not maybe like other podcasts, like maybe that's something they want and they're cool for, like, oh, it's word of the day, whatever. But like that just seems weird to me. Like it's just like propaganda show, like being thrown at you, like it's not genuine. Like I said, like a podcast of just talking to someone, whatever. But like if someone does like they do like segments and things like that. Like if you're doing like a comedy skit, I don't know. Like well then you're like that's just comedy, right? That's like SNL something. I guess I'm kind of getting off track, but like when if people do like segments of stuff and it's like, "Oh, this," like keywords or whatever, it's like, dude, like no. Like at that point it's like a show, like you're trying to sell me something like podcast and show are different, right? Like a talk show, like they have an agenda, certain things to say, a script and things like that. Like that's I don't want to do that. Like I just want to talk and just kind of like yeah, I'll have questions or I kind of want to overview things of like what I want the conversations to lead to, but it's not like set in stone. And I don't want it to be like a camera crew and these segments and stuff like that. Like no, that doesn't tickle my fancy at all. So that was kind of my spiel about like cliches for podcasts and stuff. Um and I kind of brought this up earlier, like I said, of like me not knowing like what my purpose is and stuff. A big thing for me is like just not like doubting myself big time, but also discipline as well. And like discipline's a huge thing. And I've tried like making videos about this, and like obviously I don't get views or anything like that. But like maybe that's the whole thing. Learning is making better videos. But like with discipline, like a lot of the time, like motivation's not going to be there. So with discipline, like you need like waking up every morning and just taking a cold shower right away. That's like an easy example, right? It's like you're not gonna have motivation to do that. Obviously, like you're waking up fucking groggy as shit. Like you're like, what? Oh, where am I? Like you don't want to do anything, right? You just want to sleep more. That's what your brain tells you. But like having discipline is like doing stuff you don't want to do, but it's gonna make you better, right? And for me, like I know, like if I put myself on a schedule of like making a podcast, like recording every Thursday and then dropping one Friday, or making like 3 videos a week, like that's beneficial, right? That would be discipline. Like I have trouble doing that. And it's just like I'm stuck in that feeling of like something comes up and I'm like, "Oh, nope, I won't do it." And or like no follow through or I go into the steps of doing it but I don't finish it. And that's where that self-doubt comes in where I make a video, I draft it, I'll listen and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like I can't post that cuz like it's not going to get any views and it's going to sound dumb. Well, yeah, I'm starting out. It's not going to get views anyway, right? But I can't let that discourage me. And it's just like I keep getting stuck in that rut in that hole, and I gotta figure it out what it is. And another thing is like knowing a niche too, right? And I'm sure that's a big thing for people learning, especially me. of like trying to figure out what your niche is and stuff like that. And you see videos like how to figure out your niche. I mean, pretty simple. They tell you like just make videos, right? And then just learn from there. And then, like that's half the people tell you like I had this idea and I just made videos and then like it led to this. You know, most of the time like your beginning plan of something and then like that ultimate goal, like in between there's gonna sorry, in between there's gonna be curves, like faults, cracks. It's gonna be a hard way to get there, right? And it's not gonna be set. Your path's not set in stone. So you can have an idea, but that could change instantly just like that. And so like I need to understand that, right? Like I need to know that like I don't have a niche right now. Like I have an idea of what I might like, but I have no idea how to go about it. And that's fine, but like I can't let that discourage me from making videos overall and just expecting, the like success to fall out of the sky and just bless me. Like no. Like it's got to be a grind. It's got to be failure and failure and failure and then a little improvement, some more and then just failure again. And then just keep failing and, learning and growing and then I get there. Like eventually down the road. And that'll come. And I need to know that. But if I'm not keeping the discipline of doing it, and not knocking out the self doubt and rising above it and just keeping the discipline and going, then I'm never going to see those results. And it's going to all be for nothing, right? And I don't want that. And that's like self hindering me. Like that's my fault. And like that's my issue I'm dealing with. So I got to overcome that, right? I got to figure out what works and stick to it and work my ass off and then I'll succeed. So that's what I need to get to. Um yeah, but that kind of sums it up. Um like I said guys, I I want this to be something, right? I want to find my purpose. I want to share. I want to just have fun. And hopefully with this podcast I can do that. The GOA, right? It's probably sounds stupid as shit, but that's what I want, right? I don't know what it could lead to, but I'm hoping it leads just awesome things in life. And I'm hoping this gives me the courage to just keep pushing, keep doing things I need to do, and just having a fun time doing it and experiencing and just living the best life I can't even imagine, right? Like I have this idea and these goals, but for in order to have the best life, I think it's stuff's gonna happen that I just can't even dream of, and it's just surpassing like expectations, things like that, and I just keep getting my mind blown, and I hope for that, but I gotta work and grind for it, and I wish nothing more, but I gotta stay dedicated and keep pushing for that, and I'm sure it'll happen. Like there's no doubt in my mind if I can keep grinding, keep believing in myself and keep the process. Like I won't fail, right? Or I will fail, but I'll eventually get there. Like I won't give up. So that's how I'll end things off is I won't give up. And if anyone's listening, I appreciate you guys. And I'm looking to stick to this. So look more forward to the GOA. So thanks guys. Have a good one.